Hello, I am Bentham and welcome back to Factorio Railworld. We finished off last episode by setting up some new defences. We were putting some laser turrets around our railway network to help deal with any biters that might want to get towards our base. I realised last episode that we really didn't have enough in the way of defences, but I perhaps have now gone a bit overkill because, as has been pointed out to me by some commenters, the power consumption of the laser turrets, even when idling, is quite significant. So let's sort out the power issues. We were having some blackouts before. They seem to have stopped now, possibly because the base has finished resupplying the Mega Train in all respects, except the supply of destroyer drones. So things are very quiet right now in the base, practically back to the levels that you expect when I'm out dealing with the biters around the lake. But we do want to make sure there's some more power. If we're adding in more laser turrets, we will need at least something extra to help make sure that they don't drain the system of everything. So I've put in all of the solar panels that I can, and now we're going over to our accumulator area where we're running out of room. So I decided we'll fix this by deconstructing this whole field here. This was sort of our original solar panel field that once in ancient times I think supplied us with all of our power. Maybe I'm not sure if it ever quite got to that point, because the ones around around Oil Outpost 3 to the south of it have been around for a very long time. This could have been like a transitional thing between steam engines and complete solar power. But anyway, it's going to be in the way if we want to expand any more in terms of power storage. And I think at the moment power storage is more of an issue than solar panels. I always forget what the power graphs were showing last time there was some power issues. But if I remember rightly, the solar panels did fully charge the accumulators, but then the accumulators ran out anyway, which means that there weren't enough of them. So we'll probably want to be adding in more than the 2 squares we've added in there, and for that we'll have to expand into into the area where those solar panels were. So we'll make our way back to the base, grab a bunch more, and then we're going to go put these around in our sort of main solar field, which at this point is just sort of spreading like an amorphous blob across the landscape. We'll make sure not to go over the top of the apple ore, which for those who haven't been around since last time I mentioned it, I'm not mining it because I consider it a area of outstanding natural beauty that should not be damaged by human intervention. So we're leaving it untouched. Also, it would have made the game far too easy at the time that I discovered it, because it would have supplied us with coal and iron for all eternity. I mean, as it is, we probably could have used that instead of Iron Outpost 2 and still be running on it to this day. It would probably be getting quite short at this point, but it would have got us too far, and we would never have needed Mega Copper 1 if we used the copper there, so it would have made it far too boring. We wouldn't have got to set up a new town in the middle of the journey around the lake, because there just wouldn't have been any need for it. So I'm leaving it there, and it's also in the shape of an apple, which looks really cool. Someone mentioned a different fruit. It might have said peach or something. Someone mentioned a fruit that it looked even more like, but because the colour scheme doesn't quite fit an apple. It might do if you're colourblind, who knows. It's sort of that sort of thing. But yes, we put in a bunch more solar panels, and according to the power graphs, the accumulators are charging in the morning, so I don't think the solar panels will be an issue for a while. We will want to have a look at the power system later on when it is when we're just coming out of night time, to see what the situation with them is at that point. But anyway, now that we've got the power system fine, for now as far as I can tell, we'll add in some more defences. There's some more laser turrets being produced, so we'll start running along and carrying on where we left off. We were halfway to Iron Outpost 2, we'll continue up to there, and I decide once I arrive that I'm going to continue just a little bit further. We'll go up to Oil Outpost 3. And it is quite a lot in terms of laser turrets, a bit sort of excessive, but it is an excellent defense, and it will mean that the base can practically look after itself. It shouldn't need any intervention from me in terms of defending anything. Then again, I say that, but any large attacking party could very easily overwhelm 1 or 2 turrets on the line and get straight through, but it will at the very least hold them off for a minute, distract them, do some damage to them, and give me some warning about some imminent attacks. It's generally a good idea, particularly considering that I'm going to be spending another episode or so away from the base as I finally end the journey around the lake. Some people have said, why don't I just go from here and meet it up from this direction, go around clockwise, because we've been going around anti-clockwise so far, but I would prefer to sort of... It's a little more difficult and a little more interesting if we carry on with the anti-clockwise direction. And I want to experience things in the order that I experienced them in the original trip around the lake. Though we'll at some point be diverging from that, because we'll end up hugging the lake where I ended up running off into the woods. Anyway, we've taken the oil 3 train back home, checked up on the oil situation. It's not perfect. We need more light and heavy oil, I think. I forget the specific numbers, but I've turned off a couple of cracking plants to help with that. Also, now that we have all of these laser turrets in place, it is pretty much impossible for a biter to get to our base without running through the laser turret defensive line. Theoretically, they could sneak around the mega train loading area and round the back, but I don't think that there's any sort of pathing stuff that would make them do that. So that's probably fine. In fact, they're usually attracted to turrets and will specifically choose to run at them rather than trying to be sneaky and dodging them. So that should be fine, and we should have no cases of biters just running into the middle of the main base and just wrecking things. But yes, we'll now add some more flooring in. I'm fairly happy with how the flooring's gone so far, and I've decided that I am going to floor the whole base. I was not sure early on because I thought maybe it would be sort of ruining the original thing, but really there's not. I mean, we're still working on the factory to this day, so we might as well upgrade it with all the modern stuff. I sort of felt like leaving it untouched, but it's just flooring. It can always be removed. You can always get a deconstruction planted. I'm not sure how well it works to deconstruct flooring when there's buildings on top of it. You might have to be careful about like the starting spot of the deconstruction planet. I've never actually tried it, so I'm not completely sure, but you can probably deconstruct flooring from underneath assemblers and stuff. We'll find out one day. But yes, I've given the bots plenty to do in terms of flooring, and I'll leave them to do that while I work on the destroyer drone production, because I should just expand it. People have been saying this, like, if the problem is destroyer drones and it's continuing to be destroyer drones, we just don't have enough being made, why don't I just make more? So what I'm going to do is upgrade the system. It's still going to have one assembler for the destroyer drones, but it's going to have the proper proportions and stuff so that the assembler is running non-stop, because at the moment it's running at about 1/3 speed, and if we triple the speed, that should be enough. That should keep us well supplied, and we'll not have any more trouble, unless we're doing sort of like a non-stop war like we have been with the war for the lake so far. Then we'll be fine. And that's nearly come to an end, and it'll probably be a long time before we do that again, by which point we will have built up a supply. So this should be fine. 3 times should be enough. So it's going to require a bit of messing about. I'm moving things up because there's going to need to be more room for things to move around, because we're going to have like the defender capsules on belts and things like that, so that we can properly feed them into the right stuff. Basically, the way it works out is for each one destroyer drone assembler, you need 4 distractor drone or capsule or whatever assemblers, and they basically work out perfectly with the ratios and stuff, because basically I think they both take 15 seconds, one or the other, to make their thing, but you need 4 distractor capsules to make 1 destroyer drone. Some people have suggested that I should just use the distractors on their own. That is a fairly good idea. As far as I know, the distractor drones do the same amount of damage as destroyers. The only difference is that they don't move. So I should probably use them more often, but I haven't been. It becomes more complicated if you're trying to use both, though I don't know if I would or not. I think overall the destroyers are more helpful. Each individual one is, but then perhaps, well, considering that each group of them is made of 4 groups of distractors, it is quite a big trade-off. It is probably better to use distractors, and there's no limit on them as well, but I like having them fly around after me, and I'll probably just carry on with the system that I've got at the moment. I might try that in future, because it is a good idea ultimately. But yes, for each one assembler of distractors, and this is where it gets a bit awkward, you need, let me think, I think it's something like, it's 2 and a bit defender capsule assemblers, if I've got the numbers right. I think the reason is because one of them has a construction time of 15 seconds, and then the other has a construction time of 8, and so you end up with it taking 16 seconds to make 2 rather than 15, so you need 1 extra defender capsule assembler on the end to make sure that you can feed all 4. So we've got 4 distractor capsule assemblers and then 9 defenders, and that will mean that not only will they all the distractor capsule assemblers be fully supplied, but there will be a steady, well, quite slow but steady build-up of defenders on the line, which is always helpful to keep production running well. And then finally, ammo, which is already set up. I'm sort of explaining it to you backwards to how I'm ending up setting it up, but it's the way that I worked it out when I was doing it. We then have 3 and a bit ammo assemblers. I think it works out that, actually I don't know the numbers, it's something like 1 ammo assembler per 3 defender capsules, but for whatever reason I added in a 4th, perhaps just so that the line would build up quicker, or maybe I'm forgetting the specific ratios. But that will mean that we have the destroyer capsule assembler running non-stop, so we'll have 3 times as many distractor capsules, not the ones, destroyer capsules as before, which should be more than enough. So I'm just sorting out the remainder of the belts now. All the assemblers are in place. We just need to get the belts moved. We've got to hop along this advanced circuit belt a bit so that we can put it onto the belts in the right spot. And we'll still have 1 belt for those, but we'll have it one-sided with advanced circuits and one-sided with defender capsules. Speaking of advanced circuits, I've noticed recently that there is not that much plastic consumption, which I think is part of the reason that we've got a build-up of petroleum gas over in the oil area. It appears that even though we're still making destroyer drones, the consumption of advanced circuits is quite minimal, and because we're not making any modules anymore, we don't really need many advanced circuits, so the plastic supply is building up. Not much petroleum gas is being used, which means that all the cracking ratios have gone wrong, because the petroleum gas is full and the other stuff isn't. So hopefully now that I've messed about with the cracking plants a bit, it will work a bit better and will build up, because at some point we'll probably end up using large amounts of advanced circuits again, at which point we want there to be a nice build-up of the various oil fractions so that we don't have to worry so much about keeping up the supply. Anyway, we've got now pretty much all the power stuff in position, all the inserters. I think the only thing that remains is a couple of substations to put in, and then we just need to put in the belts that actually feed the ammo assemblers, at which point the entire system will kick in and we will have our boosted destroyer drone production. So we'll put in the final substation there. We've also moved around the production of ammo that goes into provided chests. I've also increased the capacity of those. And there we go, we've got the 4 assemblers running. Unfortunately, they immediately start using up all the copper, and there's not enough. So we're going to have to upgrade the belts there so that it runs quick enough, and we'll have to keep an eye on the supply of copper. I imagine it'll be fine. They're using up a fair bit, but it's not a huge amount, and I'm pretty sure that the copper supply from Mega Copper 1 will be able to deal with it, but it's always something to check. Anyway, I'm just watching all the assemblers as they go, because there's not quite enough copper. There are not quite enough rounds or magazines of submachine gun ammo, or whatever it's called. But it is enough that all 4 distractor drone assemblers are running just about. So we'll just put in some blue belts. That immediately fills it up, but you want to check the main line as well to make sure that it's running fine. And having a look at it, it's good. It's not running at like a super crazy speed. We're only trying to fill half of 1 belt. And it was yellow before, and that was almost enough, so that's fine. But there's now enough of a supply to feed all 6 total ammo assemblers that we have, the 4 providing ammo for the destroyer drone production, and then 2 providing our personal ammo supply. And previously they only had like 2 stacks of space in their chest, so I've upgraded that to 5 now so that we can resupply a bit better. Anyway, watching the defender capsule line, very slowly it starts to build up. I think I did the numbers, and it's something like 1 per 30 seconds or 60 seconds extra is produced that isn't used up by the distractor capsules. So very slowly the supply will build up, which will be good for when things like suddenly kick in when we turn up later on to resupply once again. So later on I think we'll go look at how the Mega Train is doing. It should be getting loaded very well now by the destroyer drones, and I imagine that by the end of this episode we will have more than enough to be getting on with in our journey around the lake, and we will be able to return. But we'll get a bit more work done here, seeing as we're here. Let's do some more flooring. So the bots have done well with the task that we gave them there. They floored all the science areas, so now we'll give them a bit more to do, and we'll floor all the remaining production on the main bus. This is going to be quite the daunting task, and they'll probably run out of concrete. We've got a full steel chest full, and they stack up to 100, but you'd be surprised at how much gets used up. I've said it before, but it's like you're building one item on every single tile of the factory, which is more than anything the logistics system will have ever had to deal with before. Well, maybe the logistics bots will have had a lot to do, but the construction bots have never had a task so ridiculous. And it's a bit difficult to make something more ridiculous. I guess the only way to make it worse is if you ask them to build... let's see, if you ask them to deconstruct stone to build concrete on it, and then also coat the concrete entirely in power poles, or something crazy like that, which I'll try doing at some point, I guess, just to make the construction bot system go as crazy as possible with the highest density of orders that can possibly be given. Oh, it could also deconstruct something to put the power poles in place or something like that. We'll try that sometime. It'll be one of those crazy things like an item bomb, where we just have millions of bots covering tiny areas of space. They'll probably immediately break because they'll all try and build stuff and not deconstruct stuff, and then it'll all jam, so we'll need thousands of bots. Speaking of which, I'm going to add some more bots to the system. I think there were 200 in the system before. I've just dumped another 50 into it, and I'm now resupplying my inventory. I keep 50 on me. I don't know whether I really need to, because only 10 can operate at any one time. I guess I want to take like 20 when I'm going around the lake, so that there's... because there's going to be the odd casualty at times to worry about. But I end up taking 50, and it is useful because it means I can deploy nice round 50s into the system without too much difficulty. Anyway, I'll deploy another 50 in, bringing the number up to 300. I checked the rate at which the concrete was being unloaded. It was running down, but only very slowly, so I decided to give the system a little bit more oomph, get the work done a little bit quicker, and we'll check up on that later, see how it's fared. So we'll go over to the oil system once again, check on how it's running. The plastic is still running very slow. Petroleum gas is still built up, so we'll turn off even more of the cracking plants to try and fix that. You can also see that not many of the refineries are running. Hopefully, well, I guess part of the reason is that because there's so little consumption right now of petroleum gas that they can't run. I guess maybe to fix it, I should just turn off the cracking plants to turn the light oil into petroleum gas, because at this point there's so little being used that the refineries can probably manage the supply. But I don't know, we'll leave it for now. Also, checking up on the situation with the rocket. The rocket silo has been ready for a while. It was ready, I think, before we got back, maybe. I forget whether it was this trip or like a previous trip where we found that the supply of advanced circuits was dead. But as it currently stands, the rocket is ready and waiting to go. We could launch it at any time, but I'm not ready to yet. I might launch it when we get back. When we finish the railway around the lake, I'll make the decision then. But I do have some more plans, rocket-wise, about sort of expanding the production there a bit. In the meantime, the supply of the various different components can continue to build up. It's going to take a while to fill a steel chest with each different kind of whatever it is. Anyway, over in Iron Outpost 1, things are looking very sad, really. The outpost is dying. At this point, all of the miners are running at the same time, non-stop, the entire time that the trains are there or not. Which suggests that we need to keep an eye on things, because things are going to start running down. Hopefully, Iron Outpost 2 can pick up the slack and deal with the problems and keep the supply going. But it's quite possible that very soon we'll have to get a new Iron Outpost, because it's always a good idea to rely on two. That way, if one fails, the other one is still fine, which is the reason that we have Iron Outpost 1 and 2. And the reason that 1 has survived so long, because 2 has taken a lot of the work off it, a lot of the stress off its hands or whatever. There's a phrase there, I've forgotten said phrase, but you know what I mean probably. But yes, checking up on the map and stuff, I noticed that back in the midpoint there were a lot of gaps in the placement of concrete, and then I realised that's the same back here, because of course the blueprints have timed out. So the bots weren't running quick enough, and there wasn't enough supply of concrete anyway. So we'll have to run around and reinstate the blueprints. The thing is that the concrete supply is still not built up, so it may end up running out again, but there's not that much left to do. There's only a couple of holes in it. We really shouldn't have given the bots so much work to do at once, and it ends up being a lot more work for us running around and reinstating all of the orders and things like that. But we'll do it anyway, and hopefully this time around the bots will finish the job before we run out of time. I'll go over and check as well on the situation with the concrete. And yeah, there's none there. But that's because it's all being picked up by the bots as it's made. But anyway, we'll go back to the middle now. We'll finish by doing a bit of research that was introduced in a recent update. Completely forgot about it till now, but there we go. So I shall say goodbye. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.